PR Connections Radio presents. This podcast is brought to you by LifeWave. Ready to elevate your wellness game? Meet X39 from LifeWave.com. This game-changing patch uses phototherapy to stimulate your skin, enhancing strength and stamina by channeling your body's innate energy. Simply apply it to harness infrared heat, naturally boosting your vitality. Want to learn more? Visit www.lifewave.com/VernD and step into a healthier, more active lifestyle today.
Here we are. Welcome back to Breaking the Silence, Beyond the Boundaries, where bold voices rise and limits fall. I'm your host, Gail Larson, and I'm excited to welcome today's guest. He's an author and speaker, Phil Randazzo, founder of American Dream U.
I jumped the gun on that one. Oh, keep going.
Oh, that's okay. Through his work supporting our military and finding meaningful careers and entrepreneurial paths, he has seen firsthand the power of courageous conversations to open doors and build real connections. And he's here to share those insights with you today. Hi, Phil. How you doing?
Hey, good. Sorry, Gail. I probably broke your flow. I'm just excited to be here, and sure we'll talk about it, but I think I've known you for close to 3 decades at least. Right
I know.
there.
This is amazing. So I'm really excited to have you with me today and to connect on these topics that are so important. So before we get right into it, tell us a little bit more about what you do with veteran outreach.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Gail. So it was 23 years ago, and I believe you were there at our first event in Summerlin. At the rally, we had like 3,000 people show up to a parking lot to show support. That was in March of 2023. And we've evolved since what we originally started, which was helping the wounded and their family, to helping those that are in the process of a transition. It could be from military life to civilian life. It could be after you get out of the military. It could be from a job to starting your own business. It could be from one relationship to another. And we found that some of those transitions can be filled with uncertainty. And so we try to really get at the root cause of that uncertainty and then really support them going forward with whatever adventure they want to pick, right? This is sometimes the first time in their life they get to choose their own adventure after they leave the military.
Yep. I remember that. That was just such an inspiring event. And it's just something that we need. We needed it 23 years ago. We still need it now. And, I am just excited about the fact that you are still pursuing this and just reaching so many people. And as we move forward with this, there are some things that you and I both have in common. And one of those is that both of us are published authors. So what has been the inspiration for your books, and in particular, your latest book?
Yeah, I barely graduated high school. I had a 1.8 GPA my senior year. I went to junior college, couldn't get into college. Went to junior college, and by the grace of God, I got into a 4-year university. And when I was approached to kind of share some of the things, this was a little over 10 years ago, I wrote my first book called Funding Your Bigger Future. And I needed help. I didn't know the difference between their, your, right? Like pretty basic grammar. And you probably saw that in helping me with my latest book. And it was such a blessing to have you support me in that. It's just kind of fun to share it, whether one person reads it or 10,000 people read it. Right? I think
absolutely
too many people are so afraid of just sharing because they're afraid of what other people are going to think of it. What if they don't sell anything? What if there's a failure? Who cares? Just get it out to the world.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and this season, that's what this is all about. Just getting people to just become comfortable in their own skin, and then realizing when they decide to take that first step, and in sharing what they are really feeling inside, is not going to be the end of the world. It's going to be just that courageous step that they need just moving forward as well. So was there a moment, for example, when somebody inspired you to say, you have so much to say, you should put it in a book?
I don't remember anyone ever saying that to me until recently. Until recently.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you said something really, really important, and I don't want to pass it over, is the fact that, we need to have the courage to put whatever we want to do out there. And so why do some of us have that courage to do that and some others? Some is people have inspiring people that want to see us not have regrets 10, 15, 20, or 30 years from now for not doing something.
That's right. That's right. Because, just as human beings, we are constantly evolving. And whether we know it or not, where we are right now, even though it feels comfortable, may not necessarily be our destiny. It's just taking that next step and realizing, hey, this might be where I need to be, where I need to go. So, and in thinking about that as well, it's apparent that, you have really developed your books based on difficult conversations. So when you think about people engaging with you, not necessarily willingly, why do you think people, or maybe people that you've talked to, have avoided having these conversations, either with your books or in working with veterans or your personal life? Why do you think people avoid these types of conversations?
Well, you said a whole bunch of other great stuff in that as well. And what is certainty, and what is confidence, and what is courage? And for so many people, it means so many different things. And I've watched you speak, and I've watched you speak online. I've watched you speak in person, and that's your thing, right? Let's give people courage to just put it out there. And I love when you walk on stage and the confidence and all that. But when it comes to difficult conversations, I have learned with well over 2,000 conversations, probably closer to 2,500, is that we all have this secret life going on inside of our thoughts. And no one can see our thoughts. They only see our perspective and our behaviors. Right?
Yep,
and
that's
so
right.
and a lot of us, and I've had more conversations with men than women, but I had a conversation with a female yesterday who has the same thing. We have so many dark thoughts that are going on in our mind that we're embarrassed to share with. And so, right. And so, again, I write about this in my new upcoming book. And I think the working title now is "The Dog No One Knew They Could Pet," because I became, at home, mostly a dog no one knew they can pet. So what I mean by that is I had this internal conversation, and I had 3 unconscious thoughts about myself that were running in the background. I didn't even know they were there. One was the fear of failure. One was the fear of not being liked. And the last one was the fear of being mischaracterized. So when you're running around with your ego trying to find evidence of all of it, there's abundance of evidence, right? And so what I was doing, Gail, was and I'm ashamed to say this, and I'll be vulnerable to your audience, is that I was doing image management. I was really good at that. If I walked into a room, I wanted people to like me. I didn't want people to think anything other than what I projected on to be, right? The fear of being mischaracterized. And I definitely didn't want to share failures. And so image management, secret life. And then all of a sudden I go home and image management went right out the window. The true character showed up at home. So unfortunately, you've known my sweet wife forever. She had the brunt of my secret inner life that was going on. And I took her for granted. She won't admit it, but I know it's true. She would have rather either worked for me as a key employee or have been one of my clients, because she knew when I went out into the world, right, we could have a fight the whole drive to an event. And I walk into that room and I'm all like image management. I got people like, oh, we're this happy couple.
That's right.
Where's that guy? Talk to me the whole ride. right? And so that's what I found with almost everybody, Gail, is we have these thoughts about ourselves that are just not true. They're 100% not true.
Yep,
So,
that is so true. And I believe that more people than not deal with that same thing as they're trying to balance their personal life and their personal relationships with their professional relationships as well, that they have become two different people. And it's a matter of, like you said, being honest with yourself and being vulnerable with yourself so you can address yourself in both of those situations. And you had mentioned, these fears that come up, that like the first one you had mentioned, the fear of failure. So many people just avoid doing and saying things because they think they're going to fail. But, failure is not bad. Everybody needs to fail because failure leads to new learning. And you can never get that new learning if you don't at least fail once or twice or every time you start something new. So that's so important. And I believe the other ones that you mentioned were fear of being mischaracterized, and because we're so caught up in our own images, like you said. So you have to listen, right? You have to listen to what other people are saying about you and then processing that, to know it's not the end of the world, right?
yeah. Well, what's crazy is I discovered is that, whatever 8 billion people in the world, right? We're in Las Vegas, there's almost 3 million people. And we're all running around. I won't speak for you, but I'll speak for me, running around trying to be seen, trying to be heard, and sometimes trying to be held.
Oh, yeah.
And there's another 7.999 billion people doing the same things. We're all running around going, see me, hear me, hold me, right? And it's like, and everyone else is doing the same thing. And I think, I don't think I know, it's almost like we have multiple personalities, right? You said, where there's a person at home, there's a person in our professional life. I think there's a person with our friends. There's a person when we walk into a church. There's a person with our childhood friends, with our parents. Like we have all these personalities and we're spending so much energy trying to manage that. It's exhausting.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think the whole aspect of social media has played a huge part in what you mentioned earlier about we're so busy trying to be seen that, social media has taken upon a whole new life in itself that has trapped a lot of people into what they just want people to see on the outside instead of truly understanding what is on the inside. So,
yeah. No, I mean, that's beautifully said. And social media, I think is, I try to do, we'll fast occasionally. We won't drink alcohol. If we're really brave, we'll stop drinking coffee for a week, right? And suffer through that. But we don't detox our thoughts. And I've been so fortunate over the last 20 some years through American Dream U to spend time with several billionaires, very successful, well-known people. People can go see who has spoken for us. And I get to spend 3 days with them, not just 20 minutes in a green room. I get to spend time with them. And most of them are incredible people, but they're also doing the image management, who they project themselves on YouTube, right? Hey,
Yep.
come follow me into the Ferrari dealership. Vote to see which one I should buy. Should I buy the red one or the yellow one? I don't know. The yellow one's more expensive, so maybe I'll do that. And here's my plane. And then when you get to know some of those people, they don't buy the Ferrari. They rent the plane for an hour on the track. The home is not their home. It's an Airbnb or whatever. But they're trying to do image management, and then they're trying to sell something to the public that's just not authentic.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right. And they're not all like that. They're not all like that. So it's, Gail, and you and I have had these conversations. It's like, at some point we get tired of being tired, where we're just like, I just want to disappear. I've had those exact thoughts.
Yeah.
not kill myself. I mean, I think looking back, there might have been an occasion or two where like, hey, everyone would be way better off if I just left the planet. But we get tired of being tired. And you said something really important for your audience. I want to just remind them is we are never with our own thoughts. From the moment we wake up, we pick up a phone and we're scrolling. We're on WhatsApp, we're on social.
Yeah.
We're always doing, or you're on email, or you're responding to text messages. And then you drive to work. And some people say, well, I listen to podcasts and I listen to books, so I'm educating myself. And then they go into the office. And if, you get God a minute, people are knocking on your door. Everyone is grabbing for your attention. And I'm like, when I work with people, the first thing I tell them, and they pay me very well to do this, I'm like, leave your phone on airplane mode, go outside, get hydrated, and go for a walk for 20 minutes without your phone. And they're like, I'm paying you to tell me to walk outside. I'm like, just try it.
Yep.
Because then they can do a whole bunch of things, hydrate, get sunlight, move, tell their body they're safe. And then they have to be with their own thoughts. And most people, Gail, don't want to be with their own thoughts.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is absolutely right. I have to give Jeff kudos. Well, you know who Jeff is, but for my audience, Jeff is my husband, that every time he walks the dog, every time he goes out in the backyard to, take care of the tortoises and all of that, his phone is always upstairs and he's doing his chores. He's taking care of outside, all of that without a phone. And his phone's going off, it's ringing. I don't go look so I can go rescue him and say, I just let it ring. He definitely makes time for himself and often castigates me for picking up that phone. So, yeah, I have had to do the same thing. When I wake up in the morning, I have to avoid picking up the phone and doing all of that. Sometimes I'll just lay in bed under my 25-pound weighted blanket and then just let it rush over me and figure out how I'm going to attack the day. And that's so important, for our listeners out there to know you have to make time for your own thoughts. So, and
just to expound on that, and I've known Jeff forever. He just doesn't do that in the backyard. He does that when he bikes. He does that when he swims. And and I think that's why he has, and I'm not saying you don't or I don't, has this kind of calm and calmness about him. That he does it. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with my wife, almost been married 35 years. And she would, back in the day when she was training for marathons, she'd run 30, 40 miles a week with no headphones. Nothing, just with her thoughts. Everyone's like, how are you able to run that far without any distraction? She's like, it's my mental health.
That's right. Yep.
So a question that I would ask the audience to do is, some people are busy for the sake of being busy. And my question is, what conversation are you avoiding by being busy? Yep.
That's a great one. After I retired, it just felt like I was constantly pursuing other things for many reasons. And it might be because I was just avoiding transitioning into a new identity, maybe just being who I am instead of trying to recreate something, outside of what I've been for the last 30 years. So, yeah, that's a great question for the audience. What might you be avoiding? And going back to what you do with your workshops and so forth, you've had many workshops, particularly with the veterans and, dealing with emotional intelligence during that time. So in your experience, how can someone prepare themselves emotionally for a conversation that they know is going to be uncomfortable?
That's a great question. I don't know if you can. I've had so many conversations, Gail, and the one thing that I've learned is that most people that I work with, I would say 8 or 9 out of 10 or 90 out of 100 would say, wow, I've never shared that with anybody. Because I'll make them feel comfortable. I'll start out with maybe some vulnerability, and they'll just start to share because they feel safer sharing sometimes with a stranger than with a spouse, right? There are still things, again, I've been with Jenny together for almost 37 years. There's still some things I have not shared with her because I don't know what she's going to think about me.
Yep.
Right?
That's going back to what you said about the fear of being mischaracterized.
Well, and for me, I went even deeper. Excuse me. It's my ultimate fear is to be alone. And so when you don't like or care for yourself or spend time with yourself, or like Jeff in the garden or on the bike or in the pool, when you don't like being with yourself, that's a challenge for a lot of people. And so I almost like if something ever happened, now I will say I used to be attached to Jenny, but now I'm committed to her. And there's a big difference between being attached to someone and committed. Being attached is, what do I do? My life won't work without her. Now I'm 100% committed to her. But if she left, I'd be sad, but I'm no longer attached to her.
Right.
I'm committed to the relationship. And so, for people to prepare to have these conversations is, I would have them take out a sheet of paper, put a line down the middle and say, what do I have in my life that I don't want? It could be lack of money resources. It could be an illness. It could be a relationship challenge. It could be a parent challenge. It could be whatever it is, right? That's a cause for suffering. Then on the other side of the page, what do I want in my life that I don't have? It could be abundance of resources. It could be more time. It could be a house. It could be paying, like all these different things. And those two things equate to suffering.
Absolutely. I think that's just so important for people to be able to do, to take survey of what they have, but they don't necessarily want, and what they want that they don't necessarily have, and just compare, what should be prioritized and how do we take care of that? That is huge, huge.
And even to add to your audience real quick, I'm sorry, Gail, is to don't be attached to the outcomes on both. When we get attached, we have to have this in order to be happy. We have to have this outcome in order to write our book or to be creative or to get into music or whatever. We get attached to those, and we have to be okay with the circumstances we have. Some of us have horrible circumstances, but when we keep when we keep thinking about our circumstances, it doesn't make them go away.
Yep, that's exactly right. And, if you're so afraid of the consequences, that's going to hold you back as well. I mean, there's consequences in everything that we do. And so at some point, we just have to own up to whatever it is and then accept the consequences and move on. So
yeah, and I think what you're talking about is decisions, right? Like every decision has a consequence. But there are really no bad, wrong decisions in our life. There's just consequences. I've spent time working with inmates who are lifers, right? Level 4 penitentiaries. They made a decision when they were 18 or 19. Most of the time, the people I talk to, gang related or, trying to provide for their family. So they go into a place and they try to get, food and stuff. That was the decision they made then. And there was a consequence to that. And so I think the greatest sin, if we can talk about sin, I don't know if that's a religious thing or not, but the greatest sin is living the unlived life. Looking back and going, oh, I wish and I think God or whoever you worship or earth, doesn't matter. I think just put it out there, right? You and I could share stories for hours about whether it's Van Gogh who did all these paintings and didn't make anything. He was poor. And all of a sudden someone discovered him 50 years later and was like, wow, this is kind of cool. Now they're selling for 40, 50, $100 million.
Isn't that the truth? Goodness.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what do we have inside of us that if we just let it out, and just shared it with the world. Doesn't matter who reads it, who doesn't read it, or who looks at it, it doesn't matter. It's a
That's right.
gift.
Yep. So many people are living in the past that they don't even step into new spaces so they can live their unlived life. So, and going back to your book, I think, having had the opportunity to preview the book and, talk about it and so forth, I think your book will give many people just the inspiration to explore their unlived life, even if that unlived life comes about because they're exploring, their innermost thoughts, they're exploring their innermost fears. So
Yeah.
maybe you could talk a little bit about how maybe your book may help those that need that push.
Yeah. No, and again, you're just saying so many good things. I want to just reiterate them to your audience. Living in a regretful past, we all do it, right? Living in a fearful future, and it's not our future that we're afraid of, it's our thoughts and our feelings about what could happen in the future that gives us anxiety, and we're never present.
Yep.
And again, that's just slowing down, spending time in nature, being with yourself, going for a walk. So, the book is really laid out. And again, I want to thank you for your help in supporting me and working through that and making it even better. It's just a way to understand that you're not alone. These crazy thoughts, these I'm not worthy, I'm a burden, I'm not needed, I'm not loved, I'm not safe. A lot of us didn't feel safe as kids, right? All of these thoughts, I hate to break it to the audience, none of it's true.
Yep.
There were probably moments in our life where we felt unsafe or not needed or a burden. But that's just the conversation we're having, the ego proving itself that it's right.
Yes, that is so true. So true.
And it's crazy. So the book is just laid out with, it's part memoir, very vulnerable. I had my son, Philip, who he was on an email list, and he got a copy of my intro in the first chapter. And he's like, Mom, do you know this about Maggiano's and dinner? And my wife's like, I think I remember that conversation. And he's like, wow, I never knew that about you guys. Right. And so it'll be interesting to see, how my kids take it. Right. Because they had to live with someone who was unpredictable. Right.
Yep.
Based on my day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what the book will help people do, if they take the time and be still and actually do the work in it, it's going to, everyone has this delusion of time. They think we should be further along than we are.
Yep.
And we're running out of time to either achieve something or become something. And we're exactly where we are based on our habits and what we do. So I think the book just lays it out. Great stories, very vulnerable. People can judge me. My in-laws will probably go, wow, that's my daughter went through that. If I read that about my daughter's husband, I might have some challenges with that.
Yep.
But it's just a way to have people understand that they're okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, when you mention about maybe how your in-laws or other people are going to react to this book, that's going to happen no matter what you write. I mean, when we read the newspaper in the morning and we're looking at the comics, I mean, there's going to be people that perceive it differently than intended in the first place. So, part of this conversation and part of, your intention as far as the book is having people to get over all of that, to really just be where you are and rest in that space and figure out how you're going to move forward. And, I just appreciate you letting me in on that and to be a part of your journey as well. So as we move toward our closing, what would you say to someone who's avoiding a conversation that they knew could actually bring them closer to someone else?
Wow. I think we worry about, again, the inner conversation of how someone's going to perceive sharing something with somebody.
Yeah.
And I've apologized to people, Gail, and they're like, I don't even remember. What are you talking about? Like, you're still thinking about that? Like, dude, I'm way past that.
Yep.
Right? You had a moment. I know your heart. I know you're a good person. And so we have this perception that, if we share something that might be a little vulnerable, we're very worried about what they're going to think about us.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Image management. And so find somebody that you can trust. I love this song. It's called Finding Your People. It's a great song. I don't know if you've heard that song before. And you just got to find somebody that that will listen to you. How many of us have entered a conversation and you're like, I don't want to end this conversation because they're going to tell me what I should do, what I shouldn't do. Be a good listener for somebody else without the intentions of trying to sneak in something about telling them how to fix themselves.
That's right.
And in return, you could maybe, with that individual or others who won't judge you, right? How can we blame a 25-year-old self of our own version, or a 10-year-old self, or a 50-year-old self of our version? So just have the conversation, find somebody, join a community. I think it's just really important. And you know what? You're going to feel great.
And while we're talking about finding your people, how can our people find you, find your book?
So it'll be, I don't know when this is going to be released, but they can go on americandream.org. They can go on philrandazzo.com. And I registered the dog no one knew they could pet.com, which is a very long URL. And if you're in the military or related to someone in the military, or a spouse or a child, we're going to have the download available to just download it. And then we invite people to join our community where we're going to have these vulnerable conversations. And that's going to be where the work gets done along with the book.
Well, I am so excited for this upcoming book, and thank you so much for coming on our show. And I think, it's really going to help a lot of our listeners. And for all of our listeners, the conversations that you avoid may be the very ones that have the power to bring you closer to understanding, to growth, and to connection. So be willing to go there. So thank you very much. And so long until next time, Phil.
Thank you, Gail.
Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.